Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Efrat, for a very kind introduction. I would like to thank the organizers of the Psychology Day at the United Nations for giving me an opportunity to speak here about architecture, mental health, and climate action. Architecture is the built realization of a particular concept or idea. This idea can be about construction or the way people will use a building or how the building fits into a physical or a social landscape. Architecture is often driven by the desire to solve problems, from the earliest construction, which is necessary to provide security and shelter, to more recent examples of architectural skill used to take advantage of vertical space. This is a section with a focus on progression and problem solving. The way in which architecture has changed over time provides a very fascinating insight into the development of the human race, from the influence of the industry to technological progress. Buildings are created for humans. Most designers nowadays consider this to be a secondary factor, but then the energy exchange that takes place between humans and places creates a dialogue, and this connection deepens, developing a very, very intimate moment. Yes, this is the kind of bond architecture creates with the human mind. Architecture has never just been about planning, zoning, materials, or structures, but it is always about creating an expression for users, satisfying their needs, and responding to the context. Therefore, the design of our built environment affects our health and well-being and can have long-term implications for quality of life. Whether people are healthy or not is determined by their circumstances and the environment. According to World Health Organization, to a large extent, factors such as where we live, the state of our environment, genetics, our income and education level, and our relationships with family and friends all have very considerable impacts on health. This relationship between architecture and health has historically received little to no attention beyond the design requirements of healthy buildings. Most of the research in this area has emphasized on ill health as a result on the effects of environmental characteristics such as overcrowding, noise, air quality, and health, and light. Moving on to sustainability and architecture. Before the Industrial Revolution, most of the architecture was in nature, as they were based on the adaptation of climate and local materials to meet the demands of the people. Traditionally, Indians lived in a joint family system. Many occupants of the house and their interpersonal relationships demanded clearly distinguished spaces for different activities. There were private and public zones in the house with the courtyard as its nucleus. These houses were very high on the sustainable quotient. They were designed to suit the climate, the anthropometry, the Vastu Shastra, and using of local building materials and techniques for construction. However, in the current scenario, the traditional building has been replaced by fast-growing concrete jungles, which are really not sustainable and sensitive towards the natural calamities and microclimatic conditions. We have sadly come to poorly designed housing, workspaces, transportation, and recreational spaces that at best stagnate and remain unused in worst case scenarios, cause chronic physical and mental health issues for its inhabitants, contributing to the spread of disease, waste resources, and diminishing the overall sense of well-being and efficiency. In a newly opened office high-rise in downtown Beijing, most occupants were reportedly feeling uncomfortable every day. It was a very tight building, of which central ventilation system provided mechanical air supply, but really no natural exhaust. A survey was conducted and concluded that 98.7% of its occupants had sick building syndrome. Architecture has moved on from being locally attuned and environmentally responsible to aesthetic pleasure and financial development. A building can always be retrofitted, or new buildings can be designed to be more sustainable. Although buildings and their operation are responsible for a significant percentage of total greenhouse gas emissions, ultimately, they are inhabited and operated by human beings. So merely creating an architectural environment conducive to sustainable behavior is not sufficient. Feeling good and functioning well are characterized as the two key elements defining the notion of well-being. Feeling of happiness, curiosity, and engagement are characteristics of someone with a positive sense of themselves. Sustainable behavior means taking into account the need to preserve the planet for present and future generations, while taking into account economic, environmental, and social development. There has been little research completed on the measured effects of sustainable design on human behavior, either in or around a specific built environment. Sustainable design must not only concern itself with the productivity or well-being of the occupants, but also on the behavior of those people in and around the structure. For there will not truly be a movement towards sustainability without a change in people's behavior and activities, which will definitely change the built environment and its surroundings. They're coming into environmental psychology and the various theories that are part of environmental psychology. There are two focal points in environmental psychology, and thereby connecting it with design. The first, which I'm involved in and doing a bit of research in, is looking into the influence of the environment on the individual as human behavior, cognition, affect, physiology, etc. Examples include restoration, which is basically mood improvement and stress reduction, or wayfinding, which is basically how people find their way in an unknown building or city, or place attachment, which concludes a physical characteristics that make people get attached to a certain place. The second part of this is conservation psychology, which focuses on the relationship between people and the natural world, and how to support environmentally friendly behaviors to conserve this natural world. Restorative effects of the environment have proven to have a very positive impact on humans, where they feel like being close to nature can provide restorative effects, which in turn has helped in the whole design of indoor built environments into bringing landscape and natural features within the built spaces itself. Several concepts relating to humans' innate connection to natural environments have been revealed by environmental psychology research. Nature's connection has been shown to play an important role in predicting people's general pro-ecological and pro-social behaviors. Nature restoration, basically, there are the various studies that reveal that patients with a view of nature from their hospital window recovered way faster than those with a brick wall, demonstrating the extent to which nature has mental and physical restorative properties, which has been a central branch of the field. Another thing is place identity and attachment. Time and experience in a place are necessary for deepening the meanings and emotional ties at the heart of person-place relationship. While place attachment is defined as emotional or affective ties to a location, and is thought to be the result of long-term connection with a specific environment. This is distinct from a simple aesthetic response, such as saying that a specific location is special because it is beautiful and creates a sense of place. We all have place identity and attachment. Involuntarily or voluntarily, we do have favorite places, and this can be related to how our behavior is, how we have been brought up, and how our personality can be a part of which place do we identify with and where do we find our sense of place. Another very important design related application in environmental psychology is wayfinding. Wayfinding problems have been associated with negative physical and psychological effects. For example, Schumacher and Weinstein pointed out that in healthcare settings, wayfinding problems can lead to confusion, frustration, anger, stress, elevated blood pressure, headaches, and fatigue. Wayfinding problems have also been found to negatively affect how people view businesses, for example, shopping centers and hospitals, etc., which can cause visitors to interrupt staff to help finding their way. There have been various research based on this. Environmental psychology aids in understanding the real-world applications of concepts such as spatial cognition and cognitive mapping to design easier to navigate spaces. Crime rates can be reduced as a result of the practical application of environmental psychology. Having good signage inside buildings increases the rate of travel within the buildings, and using color-coded paths can reduce wayfinding errors in buildings. All human thoughts and behaviors occur within one of the numerous physical environments, each within its own set of distinct characteristics. The environment can be dissected at multiple levels, ranging from noisy, crowded offices to quiet, open fields, and from one's private bedroom to the entire natural world. Moving into how an urban level setting and also a housing level setting can be worked about in terms of design and thereby helping in promoting sustainable behavior. We can look at the UK government's Foresight project related to well-being, providing a definition to the 5 ways to relate to improved well-being. Thinking about city planning, the provision of local everyday public spaces creates opportunities for people to connect and thereby creating a wider community. Design characteristics associated with increasing activity, which includes access to physical activity, facilitates and promotes access to destinations and improve walkability. Walkable cities are one of the most important design considerations that should be followed throughout in the city planning process in the future, because walkable cities is what makes a city more sustainable, thereby helping people reach from their home to a particular destination just by walking or by cycling to that particular place. Design interventions can help people in taking notice, like the provision of art, planting, landscaping, wildlife features, etc. Natural and built environments that can cater to learning and provide with the opportunity at home and in the classroom. Also, lastly, providing opportunities to give back to the environment by promoting helping behavior and increasing altruism among the urban population. Most people spend majority of their time indoors, yet we are only informed about the effects of outdoor ambient environmental conditions on our well-being. Factors such as air quality and movement, daylighting and sanitation are all indicators of a quality of space, which can thereby help or even at times reduce our comfortability within a space, and thereby also alter the psychology of humans within spaces. So looking at air quality and natural light and active design within us indoor space can help in booming the human psychology of being more comfortable within a space and thereby help in well-being. To promote sustainable behavior, indoor spaces should be capable of providing with comfortability and safety. Many design factors in terms of improving the air quality, in terms of improving the temperature within a building structure, and also in providing a good daylight within an indoor space can help in booming a very good sustainable behavior within humans as well. We can also look at creating spaces that creating indoor spaces that can provide good daylighting within the spaces, and also working with color psychology and different ceiling heights and curved forms, which can efficiently help with altering the psychology of humans in the indoor spaces, especially in our homes, and help in creating a more conducive and a comfortable environment. Looking at workplace design, the way an office is designed can impact our attitude toward work on a psychological level. If an environment isn't conducive to the way you work best, it could negatively impact your productivity, quality, and general job satisfaction. There are 4 behavioral factors that affect designing a workplace. Design that addresses the thinking cognitions of the individual, design that understands the depth of emotional needs of an individual, design that is in tune of the intuitive needs of people, and design at its core becoming a sensory result of the needs of people in order to strike a balance. We spend most of our time in our workplace. Even though COVID set back a lot of us working in our home, but as most of us are moving into offices, and a lot of the community who has always been working in a particular workplace, having a good workplace design can largely impact on the psychology of our minds. Having a good workplace design can obviously increase productivity, but at the same time improve job satisfaction as well. Human beings, even though we do not consider workplace design to be a very voluntary factor that can help in psychology, being in a good workplace can effectively improve our well-being, and thereby help in us realizing that being in a good workplace can thereby improve job satisfaction and can thereby improve the work productivity as well. Human beings, even though they don't consider themselves to be environmentally conscious, contain a genetically ingrained emotional connection to the natural world. Built environment that emulates elements of the natural world will improve the physical and psychological conditions of the individual. And this inclusion can also improve the condition of the built environment. Inclusion of natural elements in the built environment will likely cause an increase in emotional affinity toward the natural environment. Looking back into the workplace design, right now, nowadays, a lot of biophilic design style is being used in the workplaces because it has been proven that nature can provide restoration. Biophilic design is basically design that uses maximum of nature within the built within our indoor spaces, with the inclusion of indoor landscaping, a lot of greenery is being used, and a lot of elements within the interior spaces with the use of sustainable materials and locally sourced materials. This is a direct relation to how natural restoration can help in providing good well-being within workplaces itself. Again, moving back and looking into sustainable architectural design, inclusion of natural elements will obviously increase the emotional affinity toward the natural environment. Looking into sustainable behavior through architectural design, like I was speaking about, the building good air quality and having environments that can acoustic conditions that can create opportunities with a clear demarcation between noise to cause that creates stress, and also demarcating between contact with the neighborhood and nature that can help invaluable to comfort as well. Using the five senses of our body, which is seeing, listening, touching, feeling, tasting. So all of these can be utilized to provide a good environment within the indoor setting itself. We can provide environments that can bring in nature towards the indoor, that we can provide scenery with greenery inside. We can also provide acoustic conditions that can imitate or mimic the sound of the waves or the ocean or the sound of chirping birds. These are all different design characteristics that can be brought within built environments that can help in providing a more sustainable architecture and thereby promoting sustainable behavior as well. Again, moving into looking into environmental psychology, there is also another theoretical model called the behavior change model. The reasoning was directly associated with the supposition that if people were better informed, they would become more aware of environmental problems and consequently would be more motivated to behave in an environmentally responsible manner. The behavior model, although very simplistic, provides a base for the consideration of possible relationship existing between environmental knowledge, environmental awareness, and attitude on how these can translate into action or inaction. Like we have been discussing about, being in an environment that is conducive towards using locally sourced materials, sustainable design factors, and also promoting more sustainable behavior can help in altering a human's behavior into taking more actions towards environmentally prone behavior. So environmental psychology is crucial within home and outside the home. It focuses on environmental stressors such as outdoor sitting noise, pollution, congestion, and crowding. An hour of running in an urban environment versus one in a natural setting will have a distinct psychological impact on you. If you go for a walk or a jog on a busy urban street with a lot of traffic and noise pollution, your level of arousal and tension may arise when you get back. A nice walk behind a lake, a river, or a small park, on the other hand, will instantly lower your stress level. If it were the intention of the designer to promote and affect environmentally friendly behavior and concern in its users, an effective method of accomplishing this goal would be to establish a level of connectivity between the building's users and the natural environment. People can be nudged into making better decisions in a largely automatic, non-coercive, and simple way through changing what Taylor and Sunstein refer to as choice architecture. But can really architecture create choice architecture? Behavioral changes are possible if appropriate theories are applied from environmental psychology for designing outdoor and indoor environments, which will make humans capable in living comfortably and at the same time start to behave pro-environmentally. This is what we have been discussing about, and I hope we have understood that design-led interventions and also using appropriate environmental psychology theories to create environments where people essentially live in, can help in creating better choices and also constrain behaviors that might not really be environmentally friendly. Thank you for listening to me. And I would like to conclude my talk by quoting Winston Churchill. We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. Thank you and have a good day.